Hi, I think this is the fifth installment on the day to day life of a completely retired black female senior living abroad. That's the general living abroad, specifically living in Manta, Ecuador. So today, so if you haven't watched the prior four videos, I covered different things. I think the last one I was covering the rolling power outages or blackouts that are going on right now, and they are supposed to end within the next month or so. So you can go to that video for more details on that. So today's topic, I have several things I want to cover. One of the questions I got from one of the comments was Ecuador has been in the news lately about violent crimes, and America had increased the caution, travel caution level on it to 2. And someone wanted to know from someone who lives here how safe it actually is. And that's a good question because if you're leaving the U.S. because everybody has guns and the violence and the mass shootings, you certainly don't want to jump out of the frying pan into the fire. And so I can speak from my perspective and from the black community here that I communicate with and am a part of. And we feel very comfortable and very safe. We are cautious. We didn't leave our common sense at home. We don't go down dark streets in neighborhoods we're not familiar with alone. Uh, Ecuador was under a curfew the early part of the year, and that ended on April 15th. What I caution everybody to do who leaves the U.S. to live abroad for any period of time is to always register with the State Department, with the travel, so that the government always know where its U.S. citizens are in case they need to know where you are, if they're going to increase the alert or there's going to be an evacuation or anything like that. So you don't want to be hard to find. And so I wanted to show you, it's called the STEP program, and that's Smart Travel Enrollment Program. And everybody, I don't know if you can see that. Okay, yeah. Smart Travel Enrollment Program. And you sign in, you get an account, you sign in, and you'll get alerts from the U.S. government. So you get email alerts, and you list in there where you live, and that's a source of comfort for the U.S. government, which is the most powerful. We're still the most powerful country considered the most powerful country on the planet, and we want to know where our citizens are in case there is an emergency evacuation or whatever. Like the U.S. government, if you recall, before the war even broke out in Ukraine, for months, they were telling U.S. citizens not to travel there, and those who were there might should come home. So they had plenty of notice. Wait, nobody was taken by surprise because our intelligence tracked the advancement of the Russian army throughout the whole thing, if you remember that. So that's the kind of information they were sending emails to U.S. citizens, letting them know that it wasn't safe to stay in that country. So as for Ecuador, I can speak only to the city that I live in, Manta, and I live in the expat community, and we feel safe. We do our shopping, we do our get-togethers, and we use our common sense. So I would not discourage anyone from coming. However, I would say you are boots on the ground wherever you go, and that's my term for coming and spending a significant amount of time in a foreign country that you are considering moving to, because it's the little things that might annoy you, or it could be big things that you say, "Oh no, I just can't live with this." So enough about that. Safety is always paramount in your decision to move abroad. And at the time that I selected Manta, Ecuador, International Living had listed it as one of the safest cities in the world. Was a whole write up on it, and that's when I started my research and moved here. And the things that have changed recently at the beginning of the year, I like the way the president of our new president is handling it, and so I don't feel the need to go back to the U.S. or to leave Manta. Okay. The other thing I wanted to cover in regard to day life was your devices. And when I say devices, your laptop, your cell phone, really your life are your lifeline when you are abroad. I still have my T-Mobile service because it has an international plan. However, those plans cost, and so I think the international plan is like $15 a month, and I get I don't either. I can choose to have that plan, or I can go without the plan and just be charged 15 cents a minute. I think it is for calls back to the U.S. or receiving calls from the U.S. However, nearly everybody I know, especially all of the expats, use the app WhatsApp, and we are able to call literally all over the world free. So we make our phone calls through that app, and there's also, so we can not only, there's not only audio but video. So that's how we communicate with our loved ones and friends back in the States. And in fact, I had a WhatsApp party before I left because some of the seniors were not comfortable using the app, and so we went out to dinner, and everybody sat around the table and downloaded the WhatsApp and actually made phone calls. And the young people in the restaurant got a kick out of the seniors sitting there calling each other across the table, and just practicing using WhatsApp. My family still doesn't like it, but they use it, and I call them on it. And so that way it's not a long distance charge to the sender or the receiver of the call. And so you might want to become familiar with WhatsApp and start using it before you leave. You can call people who are in Manta while you're in the States, and back, and then when you're here, you can call back to the States. So it's a great app. There's also another one called Signal, but most of the people here are on WhatsApp, and a lot of the restaurants and businesses here are also on WhatsApp. Now, if you are, some of the smaller businesses may not be on WhatsApp and have Ecuadorian numbers, and to avoid a long distance charge by using my phone, my T-Mobile service to call the Ecuadorian number, I just get a local SIM card, and that's costing me about $7 a month for that local SIM card, and that way I can use call the Ecuadorian phone numbers, and WhatsApp is also on that phone, so I can use it. If my battery dies on one phone, I I feel more comfortable having two phones, my main phone and then my backup, which is just my older phone before upgraded to the one I use most often, which is the one I'm filming this video on. Okay, so you want to make sure that one of the apps that we also use, because when you get here, transportation, one of the reasons that I picked Manta was the ease to get about in the city. Taxis are normally anywhere from $1.50 to maybe $5, and for $5, you're going outside the city to one of the nearby communities. So we can get back and forth to the mall and to various communities around here or functions for usually under $5. Uh, Also, I use the app InDrive. That is used. I am told they have Uber here, but I don't think anybody has ever used it, and I don't even know for sure if it is here. But we use InDrive, and InDrive operates a lot like Uber. You put in the destination, and you can actually see there's a photograph of your driver, the driver's name, and also the the car number, identification number. And it's usually just a regular taxi, but that taxi uh, driver is also a part of the WhatsApp, I mean, a part of the InDrive uh, company. So you can either do it that way, or you could just hail a taxi from the street. I like using InDrive. A lot of times when you're here for, if you're going to live here, you're going to be here for 6 months or more, people actually have their own private drivers. And that's a normal progression, or something that develops when you find a taxi cab driver that you like, how quickly he arrives. You just get along well. He may speak a little English and help you with your translation, and so you can call directly for that particular driver. And a lot of us do that. We have our favorite driver, and especially if you're going to do like a day trip, some of them will charge by the hour and just stay with you, and for that it's usually like $10 an hour, so it's still very reasonable, especially if you're going into a big shopping area where you want somebody to maybe negotiate the prices with the locals for you. So they can be very, very helpful to have a private driver. Okay, which is another reason why you want to keep all your devices working and fully charged. Because if you don't speak Spanish very well, you're using your translator. So when your translator dies, you're kind of up up the creek without a pedal. If you cannot communicate to your driver where you want to go, of course you can pull it up on your app and show it to them and do the, well, no, if your phone is dead, you can't pull it up on your app. However, the drivers sometimes will have those on their, most of them have it on a translation app on their phone. But that's not something you want to depend on. So you always want to make sure that your device works, that your phone is working, and that it's fully charged, especially if you're going to be away for an extended period of time. And you also might want to invest in a backup charger. I always have a backup charger in my purse in case my phone dies. And if you're in a taxi, they will of course let you plug your phone in and charge it up to and from your destination. Okay. Another thing that could be an irritation or a surprise would be your appliances. In my first apartment here, where I had a 6 month lease, one of the things that really annoyed me was that the oven was in Japanese, and so I had to take a picture of the control panel on my phone and then translate. And there was not a user manual, and it was not an easy process because it's not in degrees. I mean, it's a total different calculation on there. I finally figured it out, but most of the time it was using, and it could be a convection oven or an induction oven uh, that has a fan inside. And once you figure it out, it's nice to have. But if you don't know how to operate it, um, that can be very irritating. And it went on for quite a while. I mean, trying to find a manual online for different dishes that I wanted to make and what temperature I would set that at in that particular oven. And that may be the case with your microwave. So you cannot assume that your appliances in your house are in English because you're in South America. So it's either going to be in Spanish, but not necessarily. It's going to be wherever that particular appliance came from. So it may be Chinese, okay, and a lot of times it is Chinese. I said Japanese, but I meant Chinese, made in China, and so that's the language on there. And a lot of times it does not come with an owner's manual. That was one thing that really was a source of irritation because I would purchase, well, for instance, my office chair I purchased, and I'm really good. I like putting things together and assembling things, but I'm not used to assembling things without illustration or instructions. And many times the things are so where you have to assemble them, and there is absolutely not a single sheet of paper in there, that not even a picture of an illustration. And I was told that for a lot of time there's a barcode on the outside of the box, and you can scan that barcode and it will pull up a manual. Sometimes there is, and sometimes there is not. So you're sitting there with all these parts and pretty much have to figure it out. that that was not pleasant for me. Or you can go online, you can Google that particular model, which is normally what I'll do, because there is not a barcode. I'll go online and go put that model number in and the make, and I can usually find how to assemble, instructions on how to assemble. Another thing that I was not prepared for was the linen. Sometimes now I have found different stores where there was sizing on the packages, but in several stores there was not. For instance, sheet sets, you can't open them, of course, um, and there was no size. I didn't know whether I was buying a king or a queen or a twin, and that was not a pleasant experience. So you might want to bring your linen from home, and also the quality of the linen here. A lot of people complain the sheets are normally very thin, so you're not going to find, well, I haven't found like upwards of or even the thread count listed sometimes on there. So um, you might want to invest in, if you like 1,000 thread count or whatever, or Egyptian linen, you want to bring that from home. Uh, so that's another thing. The linen might not be to your taste. Okay, let's see. I think I mentioned in an earlier video that the currency, we're all on the US dollar, which is great because we don't have to do a conversion to pesos or anything. We're on the US dollar. And the $1 here is mostly a coin. So there you'll find uh, a lot of use of the $1 coins, and they don't like large bills here, especially, well, anywhere. A 20 is a large bill. So they really want you to carry ones, fives, or tens, especially for different businesses that don't have a credit card. And I would say a lot do, especially the larger ones will take credit cards, but not all of them. So it's always good to have cash on hand when you go out, because they do not like to make change, because they may not have that much change in that restaurant. And so the closest you can come to having the right amount when you pay for something, the better. And so you do want to carry whatever cash you think you might be spending for that day. You can also access the cash from ATMs. The ATM fees are $4.50, some places $5, and so, and then you have to know whether your bank, because normally we keep our funds. Sometimes people will open bank accounts here. I have a savings account here, but I use that savings account because I have the monthly medical insurance auto deducted from that, auto pay from that savings account. That was my sole purpose for opening that savings account, and also because I have an account there. That particular bank's ATM charges for me are only $1.50. However, if I'm not using Schwab or USAA, you may encounter a foreign exchange fee on the state side. With USAA, they actually refund. Not only they do not charge a foreign exchange fee, and they also will refund my ATM fees. So I like using my USAA card, my Chase card, and my Bank of America card. Bank of America charges almost a $5 ATM fee. They don't have a foreign exchange fee, but they do have the $5 ATM fee. And I think the Chase has a foreign exchange fee. I'm not really sure on that. But you want to check out all those fees so you don't be surprised when you get your statements, when you look at your statements online. And you want to know where what it's really costing you to get that money out of an ATM, or to pay for it with your US with your card, with your credit card. ATM locations are just about everywhere, so they're not hard to find. They're on streets, they're in the mall, um, they may be in the larger grocery stores. So if you do run out of cash, you can go to ATM. Uh, and like I said, they're safe when you're in a safe neighborhood. I would not go to an ATM in a neighborhood that I didn't feel comfortable in. I wouldn't be there anyway. So another thing, let's see what I'm doing on time. Oh, I'm already up to 20 minutes. Okay, I think I covered in drive. Oh, another thing you might want to be aware of with, it doesn't happen as often with InDrive, because with InDrive you, and that's an app you can download from Google or Apple Store. With that, you actually uh, tell them the fee that you want to charge, and they will tell you, the app actually tells you the going rate. Different times of day, the price may be different. In the morning, to go most places in the expat, I say the expat community, or just the where most expats live, back and forth to the mall and different stores and shops and everything, it's like $1.50. Around $1.50 to $2. After say 2 o'clock, you can increase that by 50 cents to $1. So you're probably paying $3 the later it gets. And then after dark, it'll be anywhere from $3 to $5. And that's the norm. You not only, but that's something you can, it'll tell you what the going rate is at that particular time, if you want someone to the taxis in the area to feel like that's attractive enough for them to say, okay, yeah, I'll pick her up. Because when you put the your destination in and you're looking for a taxi, you actually can see the number of taxis that are in that particular area. And if, for instance, you say you want to pay $1.50, the app will tell